Stevie, Arsenal have been in this position before, and the fact that we're seeing a Manchester City gaining momentum, and especially in the destructive form that Erling Haaland is in, how concerned should Mikel Arteta be about looking over his shoulder?
Well, the first thing he shouldn't be doing is looking over his shoulder. There's a different feel around this Arsenal side, though, than compared to the ones that we've been talking about that got themselves in front and then somehow managed to not throw it away, but lose it. I don't get that feeling about this Arsenal side. And I think the biggest thing and the most important thing for Mikel Arteta is to make sure that not just himself and his coaching staff, but the players aren't looking over the shoulder. He has to make them concentrate on what's next in hand, the next game, the next pass, the next shot, the next whatever. So the minute you start looking behind your back, that's when you take your eye off the ball, in my opinion. I don't think this Arsenal side will. I think there's a different mentality about this Arsenal side. But again, it's up to Mikel Arteta and his coaching staff to make sure that they and the players don't look behind themselves, and all they do is concentrate on what they're capable of on the field. And that's all they need to think about.
Well, Shaka, you said it just this weekend that this title right now, the way Arsenal are going, the fact that they've gotten so many reinforcements, they have such a good squad, it is theirs to lose, not concentrating on what City are doing. But in the game against Sunderland, Stevie pointed out that Sunderland went after Arsenal with that physicality, almost bullying them in a sense. So even though their mentality may be different, do we see now a blueprint on how to go after Arsenal?
Well, I guess in some respects, but I'm not sure how many can emulate that blueprint that Sunderland showed against Arsenal. Sunderland know who they are. They have that kind of physical experience that comes with the championship that I'm not sure many teams in the Premier League right now can even think about emulating. I just take that as a one-off. Listen, nobody will go the rest of the season undefeated. It's how you cope with those setbacks, and this is just a draw. In the greater scheme of things, it's 2 points dropped, no more. These things happen, and it's how you respond to them that dictates where you finish. To Stevie's point, while there's a different feel about Arsenal this season, there's also a slightly different feel about Manchester City. Yeah. For this season, especially if you want to compare it to 22-23. Now, as good as Haaland has been, and as good as well, City are improved on last season. I'm still not sure that this City is as good as the one we saw 2 years ago. I'm not sure that City have the goals in depth that they did in that 22-23 season where they ran Arsenal down. So I think it's a very different feel in so many respects. Now, the thing is, and it still holds, that until Arsenal can see it through, you just don't know. And that is right now what Mikel Arteta is trying to prove wrong, that we can see this through. It's okay for the rest of us to sit aside and wait for them to do that. Now Arteta has got to prepare the squad for what's to come, understand where it went wrong last time out, and how do you fix it.
Well, Stevie, just speaking about that game between Sunderland and Arsenal, I know we sat here with Craig and you talked about how much you really enjoyed that game. It took you back to the good old days of football, just seeing Sunderland. It was a throwback. Yeah. But speaking of Sunderland's physicality, just have a look here at the old chicken wing, I suppose, from Dan Ballard on Mikel Merino. You said you would be feeling a bit lucky to have not been sent off here?
Yeah, I don't think you could argue. You know, on the halfway line, the referee gives a free kick all day. And then he's got to determine whether it was meant, was it just unfortunate? But there's no question. His elbow goes towards Moreno's face. So, had he been sent off, you wouldn't have found me arguing about it. I think he's very lucky to get away with it.
I'll be honest as well, and I have a feeling we'll say this more than once during the course of today. But during the game, I saw that and I thought, nothing wrong with that. That's a part of the game. It's pretty physical. Yeah. But the more you see it, and I know slow down replays are always difficult to really judge. But the more you see it, especially in these slower motions, it really does look like he throws that arm as opposed to it being a flailing arm or in the natural act of jumping. Where, again, in real time, at real speed, I just thought, oh, it's one of those conditions that happens inadvertent. I'm sure it hurt, but it was inadvertent. But the more you see the replay, the more it looks
Just a quick thing on that. The referee, though, refereed that particular instance the way he'd refereed the game up till then. Because there was a lot of challenges, there was a lot of head clashes, which, you know, you could slow down and look and say one or the other was responsible or reckless. So in a lot of ways, the referee judged and refereed that particular instant on the way he'd been refereeing the game previously. And so from a player's point of view, that's what we like.
Yeah.
You know, if the opposition does something, doesn't get booked, and then you do it, as long as you don't get booked, you're okay with it. And I think, again, maybe that's another reason why he didn't send him off.
Mario, what did you think of it?
No, I think, look, okay, I understand what the guys are saying, but if I'm going for the ball and my arms are going, I'm going to have them up. The only thing why I didn't jump on it is because he doesn't really swing with the elbow towards his face. He's going up, you understand, to go after the ball. Maybe the only thing you could say, okay, his arm is too high, but still, I'm a defender. I want to go and win that ball. And I felt like he didn't really went for him. He went for that ball.
All right, well, I think we can finally go to our Frank Leboeuf there. Frank, you were a bit quiet for the first half. I think we had some technical difficulties. You need to learn to pay your Wi-Fi, Frank. You won a World Cup. We know you have the dinero. Anyways, Frank, what did you make of the conversation?
I'm sorry. I was a little bit short at the beginning of the month. I'm very sorry, but I will try to do my best. But, well, you know, I was listening to the guys, and, well, I want to go back straight to the elbow. And I refused, you know, after being having my nose broken 3-4 times, you know, in English football, to think that that football became so soft that now, because you jump, because you try to get your space, you are elbowing somebody, you deserve a red card. I will never go there, because I really think that Bala doesn't do it on purpose, doesn't try to push Merino away, as Mario said. He doesn't swing in towards Merino. He just tried to push forward to get the ball before Merino. So therefore, in order to do that, you need to push with your arm. That's a natural move. And again, I will refuse. It's a contact sport. I will refuse to think that that kind of move deserves a red card, because that guy plays the ball. And again, it's football. I mean, I will never go there. I can understand what the guy wants to prove, but you know, when Shearer was knocking me like that, and when somebody else was knocking me like that, or even headbutt me, and the ref say, "Play on," it wasn't a century ago. It was 20 years ago. It was only 20 years ago, and it was play on. And so I will never go there. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Frank. Don't get me wrong. In a lot of ways, I'm with you. In a lot of ways, the reason I enjoyed this game is because the way it was refereed.
Yeah.
But this is a one-off. The game's not refereed like that anymore. It's not okay, whether it's accidental or you mean it. It's not okay to stick your elbow in somebody's face. And so it's the way the game's refereed. Whether we, because of what we went through, like it or not, the game's not refereed like that anymore. You know, if you accidentally go over the top of the ball and catch somebody, you can't turn around and say, well, I didn't mean it, and 20 years ago it was okay.
Stevie, we don't have to agree with the ways being refereeing. We are there to give the audience the experience that we have and the legitimacy that we have in talking about football. And the thing is, we know about, as players, that what we have seen is not deserving a red card, because the guy just plays the ball and plays football. So if it's wrong, maybe we have the right to say, well, you know, referee, change your mind, do something else, because you are going the wrong way. It's becoming so soft, like soon you will just push the guy like that and they will give a red card. So it's becoming stupid in a way. It's why I say it.
Well, Mario, let me come to you just speaking about...
You know what the thing is? The thing is, you know what, Alexis? The thing is, maybe me and Frank, we both broke our nose, so that's why maybe we're a bit more sensitive. You see, so that what happens.
Well, Stevie
was broken nose. That's the difference between Stevie and I. Stevie and us. Stevie was breaking nose. That's the difference.
All right, well, Mario,
Okay, Stevie, you
Always
do.
get
See,
in
there you
first.
go, Stevie.
Always get in first.
well, putting broken noses aside, Mario, it was a long time before we saw anybody break through that Arsenal defense quite like Sunderland did in this game. So did they expose some weaknesses in what we thought was quite the formidable defense for Mikel Arteta?
I think watching the game, right? One of the key things what Sunderland did at the start, they pressed them. They pressed them really hard in the first, I think, 10 minutes. And when Sunderland saw that physically they couldn't keep up with that, doing that, because Arsenal is a confident side. They know how to manage to move the ball around. Okay, next thing they did, they started to play the tough game. If you look at the first half, you have to look at Shaka. Shaka set the tempo. And you always have one individual in your team that is going to set the tempo. He's the captain, but also the one that, said he knows Arsenal really well because of his past. But the way he said it, you saw the way he was screaming to Mourinho when he didn't even touch him and he went down. He lost his head. And the whole team was going after like that. And that's why, if you see the first goal Ballard scored, they press them, they press. They win the ball back. And the way he strikes it, it's just all part of how Sunderland was really going after them. And I think this is one of the things that you could see. You understand? They win the second ball. The second ball is always key. Look here, he wins it from Rice, and Rice because he anticipates too slow. And this is a player that played in the youth at Arsenal, so it's even sweeter to score against your old team. So that's why, for me, when I saw this moment, it was pure. Yeah, okay, I know it's also power, but also the way he went after it. That said enough for me to say, okay, these guys, they wanted to really, really win this game.
So, Frank, you'd say as well, no major concerns then for Mikel Arteta for his defense?
No, they weren't the best, and Gabriel wasn't at his best, but you cannot complain about what they did. You have the right to not be always at 100%, and nobody can complain about Gabriel's performances. And yes, they made some mistakes. Yeah, they should have done better on the last goal, especially Gabriel. But you have to give credit to the striker and the way that he jumped. I mean, Gabriel went for it. He put his head where the guy put his foot. So it's not like he was, not trying anything. He was giving everything. But sometimes you're not spot on, and it can happen. And nobody, again, can deny that whether it can be Gabriel or Saliba, they're two of the best centre-backs in the world right now and doing great. It was a day off for them, maybe, offensively in the first half. They didn't show too much. But overall, it's a draw against a very good Sunderland in a fighting spirit that we love, and it can happen. And I wouldn't complain too much if I was an Arsenal fan about Arsenal performance today.
But Frank, you would keep us out of the box at the last ball. You saw the goal that scored. You would tell us, hey guys, come on, you got to push up. Don't drop that deep. Because they were dropping too deep, Arsenal, in that situation when Brobbey scored. They were too deep. They were inviting that ball kind of into them to get that situation to happen.
Yeah.
You have to be careful with that. You can't drop that deep.
No, that's true. That's true. That reminds me so many games, especially Paris Saint-Germain when they lost the second game of the Champions League in Barcelona, when Marquinhos was dropping with I forgot the former Chelsea player, plays centre-back as well, fantastic, Thiago Silva. Where Thiago Silva, they were both dropping too much, and they said, what do you do? But sometimes the pressure is so much and too much, and of course the midfielder, they don't hold it. And we know that it's not only the back line, but you feel that nobody is holding anything, and so you drop and you drop too much. It happened today, during the weekend, where Gabriel and Saliba were incapable of pushing forward because nobody was following as well, and that's a unit problem. That's a midfielders, forwards as well issue, and they couldn't hold back.
All right, well, a lot of defensive talk here, but what do you expect when we've got the panel that we've got here today? Poor Shaka, we'll bring in some goalkeeper talk soon, Shaka. But sticking with Arsenal, let's look at their upcoming schedule because it's been all good in the hood, but they do have a tough run of games coming up. North London derby on the 23rd of November, and then a true test in the Champions League against Bayern Munich, who have been perfect there. And then another London derby of sorts with Chelsea, followed by Brentford, who we saw exactly what they can do at the weekend too against Newcastle, and then Aston Villa. So Stevie, any concerns here for Mikel Arteta?
No, I don't see it. No, not really.
You expect them to win all those?
Well, it's Bayern Munich. Bayern Munich's going to be some game. But in terms of the Premier League, I see them being too strong for Spurs. I see them being too strong for Chelsea. And actually, the one game, if you're Arteta, you've just had a dress rehearsal for Brentford.
Yeah.
Because there's only two teams that are probably going to physically match you or try and physically match you, and that's Sunderland and Brentford. Everybody else is going to try and play football. And so, in my opinion, Arsenal are well equipped to play anybody at football, but they're also up for the fight. And again, it goes back to where we started. If you're Arteta, you don't panic because you lost a couple of goals because the second balls. Yes, the boys are right. You know, you can just mention you need to push up, don't be so deep. But these are minor details. This is not a Liverpool situation where they're getting caught left, right, and centre. Balls in behind them, balls played through them. Nothing like that is happening. The only problem Sunderland have had this, Arsenal have had this season has been that physicality. But they're after Brentford, they ain't going to really face it again till well into the season. So, no, if I'm Arsenal, I look at that fixture list and I'll go, bring it on. You know, the Bayern Munich one, yeah, is going to be tough. But in terms of the Premier League, who's next? Bring them on.
Oh, I love a fired up Stevie Nicol. It's because we're not talking about Liverpool. But Shaka, just switching focus a little bit. Sorry, it's my only dig for today. Just switching focus a little bit to concentrate on Manchester City now, considering they're the ones chasing. And we know that the City of old was able to chase down Arsenal and leave them in the dust to win the title back in that season that we talked about now. But what's going to be key for this Manchester City, who we've agreed is not the City of 3 seasons ago or 4 seasons ago? What's going to be key for them to chase down Arsenal and try and win the title?
The biggest key for Manchester City is Erling Haaland staying fit. And I think that goes without saying, kind of given the number of goals that he contributes and how much kind of comes through him. I think outside of that, what you saw from City in the last 2 games against Dortmund and then against Liverpool is how Pep Guardiola can change things up. Against Dortmund, he goes with 2 true wingers in Savinho and Doku. Against Liverpool, he leaves Savinho out, brings David Silva in, and congests in midfield, and Liverpool simply can't play through it. And in both those games, Manchester City just looked almost unstoppable, in all honesty. So kind of given the way that Guardiola is able to rotate, the players that he's able to call on, Ryan Cherky showing good form, the players coming back into fitness, this is, well, I'm nearly said as good a City team as we've seen, as good a City team as we've seen for 2 years. Let's be honest. Last season was a one-off. I still don't think they're back to who they were the season before. But seasons gone by, we've known that City in the second half of the season, whatever Pep Guardiola does or says, whatever he's selling in that dressing room, they have been as strong as anybody you've seen in the second half of the season. Now again, this version of City, I'm not convinced is that City of 2 years ago or 3 years ago. But kind of given history, we'll see what Pep Guardiola can do, probably get the best out of this team in the second half of the season, and what kind of gap Arsenal give them to climb. As much as praise as I put on City, I will maintain this is Arsenal's title to lose. Despite the blip, and I think it was just a blip, I think all in all, Arsenal are still the best team in this league.
Frank, when we talk about Manchester City, we've talked a lot about Erling Haaland, and rightfully so in the form that he's in. But someone who really is really shining is Jeremy Doku. I know that you've enjoyed watching him. Just how much of a key player do you think he can become at Manchester City? And what do you feel has changed with the Jeremy Doku that we're seeing this season that we probably didn't see last?
Well, the guy can be crucial. I mean, we can feel the confidence. And I think it's maybe Guardiola who told him, okay, now I wanted you to not lose the ball. Now I want you to try anything. And the first half, we know what he did to Conor Bradley was simply a nightmare. The guy always going for the take on, always trying to take him on every time, trying to cross the ball, and even losing the ball, he tried again, and he harassed Conor Bradley. He tired Conor Bradley, and it's what we want from a player. That was I was critical about with Guardiola when he had people from the wide for the width, and when they did, instead of trying, they were going back and play handball. That's what we say, or handball, because it's German. So like that, but nothing much. But now we have a Doku trying on the right side. We have Savinho or Cherki. That's great. I love that. And that makes Manchester City being a threat for all defense because you have Haaland in the middle, of course. But Doku showed his talent. It's what I know from Doku. It's what I'm expecting. And I'm not expecting less because I know I've seen him playing before. I know that guy can do that for 38 games. So... And that's a different Manchester City when you see that.
Well, Mario, let's have a look at who Manchester City have coming up next, and as we compare it to who we saw Arsenal have next. And it doesn't look as daunting as who the Gunners have, of course, against Newcastle. This is at St. James's Park, so we know that's definitely going to be a game. Bayer Leverkusen in the Champions League, then against Leeds, Fulham, Sunderland, which could be a tasty one, and then, of course, Real Madrid back in the Champions League. In terms of at least the Premier League title race, this could be a crucial period for Manchester City to continue going strong and maybe try to gain more ground on Arsenal.
Yeah, because I think all the teams that you see now in the Premier League, there are teams that will face City, even if they didn't win the title last season, they will still face them like they are the winners, because it's always a team that's up there. So they will compete with them. But if you look at City, if they can get this rhythm, what they have now, right? When we saw this weekend, it was incredible. You know, like we highlighted already some of the key players that were instrumental. I see some young players too. You know, O'Reilly, the way he plays against arguably one of the best players of you know, for a couple of years now at Liverpool. He played against him like he had no fear. He played against him like he wanted to challenge him. You know, then you have a Doku in front of you. So things like that. I feel like City now they're still building. I don't think they're ready yet to where they were so comfortable. But I think the discomfort is gone. So that's why whoever they will face, you understand, away from, okay, the Madrid game we highlight, but that is later down. I think if they can keep this momentum going, they're running into that last kind of game that we highlighted. It's going to be very comfortable for them in the sense of confidence and being sure, you know, a guy like Pep Guardiola, 1,000 games and that confident, and the way he did it is some beautiful football. So I expect them to carry that on.
I think we will absolutely learn something about Man City's defence when they go to Newcastle. Newcastle at home are a different ball game than they are away. And the one thing you know is they will go forward and they will go at you with pace and they will counter-attack when it's on to do so. And we will find out, because there's no question going forward. You know, we're talking about Doku and we're talking about Haaland, and Savinho seems to have taken a step forward as well. Phil Foden seems to be coming back. So going forward, things look as though they're starting to come good. But there's a question mark about them defensively, no question. And Liverpool did not at any stage put them under pressure. We will see that in Newcastle, because regardless, Newcastle will go after them. And if they come through the Newcastle test, then I think we can start talking about this could be a real challenge to Arsenal. But right now, we can't say that.
All right, well, let's have a look at the odds to win the Premier League title. And Stevie, Liverpool, that's where I want to stick a pin right now.
I wonder why that is.
But look, Stevie, you did say it, especially after what you saw the weekend against Manchester City, just that lack of urgency, that lack of bite that you expect from Liverpool. You said that if they continue playing like how they have been playing in the last couple of games, barring the Real Madrid and Aston Villa game, then they're out of the title race as it stands.
Right now, I'm thinking about top four.
Well, what does Arne Slot need to do to fix that then? Because they're the defending champions, surely. And at least starting in the next game.
Arne Slot needs to forget about anything other than the next 10 minutes that Liverpool are involved in. Never mind winning the title or what's going on in Champions League or anything else. How do we get settled and how do we get into some sort of flow and get some sort of real consistency of good play? Never mind the bad consistency that they're in right now, pretty much. That's all Arne Slot has to think about. Forget league tables around. He has to try and figure out how he can get Liverpool to turn up and produce a level of performance that will get them consistently victories and points. Forget tables. from a fan's point of view, I'm looking at top 4 right now. I'm certainly not thinking about the Championship. Nobody in their right mind could honestly turn around to you and say Liverpool are still in this title race and Liverpool can still win it. I don't think they can.
For that next game against Nottingham Forest, of course, a name that we've talked about a lot has been Mo Salah. And as we have said, if he's not scoring all the goals and helping to create, then he doesn't really offer much defensively, which is what we're seeing right now and how it can affect the team. So for the next game, do you drop him?
Yes, I would.
For who?
And that's the second part of the question, for who. But you can't. You know, you have to find ways of motivating players. Motivate's probably the wrong word in terms of Salah, but you have to try and figure a way out how to get him back to somewhere near his best. And so far, playing him and playing him and playing him isn't working. We all got, well, I certainly got excited when he scored a couple of goals in a couple of games, but his overall performance hadn't really changed much other than those 2 goals. So now, the only other thing you can do is sit him on the bench. Sit down, have a look, maybe a different perspective, and then play him the next game. And let's see if there's any sort of reaction. Because unfortunately, he's reached the stage now where the team can't carry him anymore. Just as simple as that.
Mario, when Stevie said that he would drop Salah,
sorry.
Go ahead, Frank.
Sorry, Stevie, isn't it the African Cup soon? So he's going to disappear for like a month or 2, Salah?
Yes.
So the African Nation Cup, So, well, if you don't use him now and he's going to be gone, well, like within like 15, a month or even less. So you're not going to get Salah for like 3 months. And maybe Arne Slot is also thinking about that.
Unfortunately, there's an answer to that, Frank. What is the point? The guy's not giving you anything. And at the end of the day, you could look at it the other way and say, well, he is going to be away for 2 months, 3 months, whatever it is. So we may as well try and figure something out now. Why am I going to wait on a guy who's giving me nothing? I need to be proactive here. I can't just sit in my hands and let it happen and hope and pray that all of a sudden somebody waves a magic wand and he becomes the Egyptian king again. So I absolutely think he needs to do something, and that's my own personal opinion. I would sit him.
Mario, what do you think about it? Because you sounded like you agreed with Stevie when he said he would drop Salah, at least for that Forest game.
Yeah, because, you know, what I think, you know, I think Slot should pick the team, like, okay, if you look at Salah, I don't think he's the player that now, I don't know how he feels because I cannot say that, but I'm just saying he doesn't look to me that he can play the back-to-back games. Because the back-to-back games, sometimes you don't. You get, like, I watched him, for example, I was in the stadium watching him against Manchester United. So I've seen him moving around. It was one of his strongest games because he was the outlet. And they kept on playing the ball to him, and controlling, and that they started the action. But if I look at the weekend now, you have to also remember that some guys, when they play against Salah, and it's normal, everybody's been there, even all of us, when you play against a player that is so good, you want to show off and show that I'm capable to play against you. O'Reilly, young boy, of course he's going to give his best, of course. But now you see also players don't give him the respect like he used to get. They don't stay behind anymore. They don't panic as much anymore. They go and attack too. So that's already a problem. The same thing, you understand, when I talked about Wits. Great, good player, but not ready yet. If he did well in Europe, then don't see it that he's going to do well in the Premier League, because the Premier League is where, you know, the rhythm, he doesn't have that rhythm yet. And I've seen him play. He looked like, after coming off against Manchester, it looked 5 minutes. I saw him breathing like crazy. I was like, wow, 5 minutes. Yeah, but it's normal. Why? Because he has to get used to the way the Premier League moves. So I think Slot needs to play his strongest team, how he won the league, and then move forward to implement certain, you know, diamonds that he bought. But if he's going to change them and straight away let them start the games, that's where the problem starts. And he has to be careful, because the problem is not going to be fixed if he keeps on saying like, oh, all my new boys need to play. No, they got to wait and build them into your team.